So, you were born in 83,
Yes, sir. I'm 33 years old.
still going strong, very well done. South Carolina, what's that like?
It's it's funny. Like a lot of kids and teenagers growing up, I'm probably like, oh, I want to get the hell out of here. There's nothing going on. But like now, when I go back to visit, it's like, oh, it's peaceful and relaxing, and I like it. But I mean, it's compared to like Miami or Maryland where I am now. Like, there's no like pro sports teams. It's not as much of like a big city kind of vibe or that kind of stuff. But there's a couple. There's definitely some colleges, and the people get more into like the college sports and high school sports. I would say there's a lot of religion, of course, in that area of the country. I'm not a very religious person, but my dad and stepmom are, and so
Yeah, it's
like
definitely the Bible Belt of the country. That's kind of what I was getting to. I grew up in Minnesota, and it was just way too slow for me. Like everybody talks too slow. They're not task oriented. They don't have like a detailed timeline of what they're trying to accomplish. They don't have their goals prioritized. The sports teams suck. It's cold. I hated it. So that was why I moved to South Florida, because everything is so much more fast paced and people are open to new ideas and they're entrepreneurs and innovators, and that's what I'm all about.
cool. And that's actually one thing that when I heard about you, I was like, oh, cool. He would probably be one of the many reasons he'd probably be a really good coach for me is we have played in those Miami games a lot. We know the type of games, and we even know some of the same people probably. But
Yeah, I have a massive 4-year database stored in Poker Income of basically all of the casinos at every stake and my win rates in all of those games for month, day of the week, time of day.
cool.
So if you need any info as far as that goes, and also if you need my opinions on the way I think games are trending at various casinos, just let me know. I can
Yeah.
help you out with that for sure.
Even though I just moved to Maryland about a week ago, but still.
Oh, I forgot about that. Okay.
But I meant to ask you. My video recorder thing is only working on audio. I can't get it activated yet. But are you recording this? Like, I didn't know if I get a copy of
Yes, I'm recording it.
lessons and stuff. Okay.
So
Cool.
hopefully this works, because Camtasia's been trying to make some major changes to what they're doing, and it's crashed on me once or twice, but I think they've worked out the kinks, and now it's significantly better.
Okay.
The quality of the recording, both audio and video, is a lot better now that they've made some changes, and it's also exporting faster. So hopefully I can help you out as far as that goes.
Good. Great. Okay. Cool.
Now, so you moved to Florida for college, studied music, actually, very interesting.
hmm
Uh,
That's really like my biggest passion in life for sure. Is music and songwriting and stuff.
okay, well, I mean that's totally fine. I think it's really
Yeah.
important to have hobbies, but you right now, if you're trying to get better at poker, the most important thing for you to do is really sit down and maybe uh, write down the 20 most important things in your life,
Okay.
and then try and rearrange them in order of importance. And then I would say like pick 3 of those things and focus solely on only those 3 things. Keep the other
Yeah.
17 on the back burner, because a lot of guys that come to me are too scattered. Like they want to get into gardening and they're Cubs fans, and then they need to fly out and watch the Golden State game, and they want to get into yachting, and do you follow Tim Ferriss? What do you think of his slow carb diet? Let's try yoga. Do you listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, bro?
Only
Let's
so
play
many
one
hours
two
in a
no
day.
limit. Let's play Chinese poker. I'm headed to Costa Rica for a Rasta convention. Yeah, and I'm just like, dude, how do you accomplish anything like that? It might
Yeah, that's
be,
true.
that's a fun, carefree lifestyle, but if you want to be successful, you can't be like that. You have to really narrow down the things that interest you to no more than 3 things and focus on that. So if music is one of them, put that on there. If poker is one of them, put that on there. And,
hmm
probably family or work or whatever it would be after that. But then you can really only focus on those things because if you want to play poker at the level that I'm talking about, poker has to be in your top three.
Oh, it totally is, and you'll see when I mention that
Okay,
later on too.
so you're playing one two no limit in 2011, and then you built your roll up to 2-5.
This is all while working as a guitarist and guitar teacher, but you'll see when I
I mean,
start
that's the
doing
way to do it,
full
man.
time.
That's how I did it. I did it. I was working as a, critical care paramedic. Doing my
Mm,
internship during the day and then playing poker at night, and that was how I
cool.
eventually transitioned over to this lifestyle. Uh,
Yeah.
so you got some coaching. How was that? What kind of experience did you have?
Well, so I, had only learned from like some books and like honestly, mostly like most people, I just like played, and thought that like, oh, I'll get better by playing and everything, and I never even really thought about poker coaching that much. It was not something you heard like live poker players talk about that much, even though later I found out online is extremely common for online players, pros, and people that had ambitions to be pros to get coaches. So, but for some reason, I didn't really hear about it. And then one day I was just kind of, I think I was like looking on 2+2, which I never really was on that much. And I was just kind of frustrated, a recent like downswing or something. And I was like, I've got to get better. I'm tired of like not, of being confused at the table and like just constantly not knowing what to do. And my eye just happened to go to this section on 2+2 that said coaching, and I said, "Oh, coaching, huh?" So the first time I really thought about it, I just started browsing through those ads, and one of them caught my eye because it said, like, specifically said live 2-5 and stuff like that. When a lot of them were more online coaching based, and I just read the reviews and all on this guy, and sounded good, and I went with them, and it turned out he was, not what you would think was the stereotypical poker coach you would think of now is like someone like you, like a younger guy and everything. This guy is like almost 60, and he was uh like a limit, like a higher stakes limit hold'em pro back in the day, and he was also a pharmacist kind of at the same time, and he got more and more into it, and then he got into online no limit and he was coached by like Wilton Tilt and some other people. He had some serious coaches and was doing well there. And then Black Friday happened, and he tried to start taking it to the he never really played live no limit, and then he found it was just completely different, of course, than online no limit, and he started trying to tweak his strategies for like the live 2-5 game and everything. Anyway, so he was in Vegas, so he was at the Bellagio, and was his main place, and then he he said he was just pretty much killing it there. And then this guy, you may or may not know, who's gone to have some success, named Justin Oliver, who's won a bracelet. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people, but Justin Oliver was a young player at Bellagio, and he said he pulled Bill aside and was like, "Man, nobody plays like you. You've got to teach me, blah, blah, blah." And that was the first he ever thought of coaching. So Justin was kind of like his protege, his first student. That went really well. He found he had a knack for it. And then, long story short, he ended up getting more into coaching than playing. And, anyway, so for me, I didn't have anything to compare it to. I'd never had a coach before, but I immediately clicked with him, and things that I'm sure like you would laugh at how basic some of these things are. But to me, I was such a novice that the fundamentals that he taught me in the beginning, and it was just like so eye opening for me. Like things like 3-betting light, where like I never even knew you could like, 3-bet with ace jack and stuff like that, or like, much less other things. I never even knew you could like bet a third of the pot and then overbet the river and stuff like that. It was just, or so it was just totally eye-opening. I'm sure I ran well at the beginning too, as I was putting these new things in. So like the first few months I was making like 70 an hour or something. I was like, oh my, after making like 15 an hour by myself for whatever before then. So I was like, oh my God, this coaching is the nuts. This is awesome. And then, obviously down the road, like I had some bad downswings too, and that I knew that win rate was too high, and then I wasn't playing that well. But it was definitely a really good experience, and I was thinking about the game more and more. Now, I'll tell you later what how I kind of view it now and how I got back into coaching. But basically, if you keep reading, you'll see my results were going well, and I stopped the music stuff and wanted to fully focus on poker around March of 2014, and I've been doing just poker ever since then. And I kept going with Bill about a year and 3 months, so till October 2014, and a combination of things. I was doing like once a week sessions. I was sending hand histories through email. He had a program where you could pay for like a time bank and send him, hands, and he would just deduct the time every time you did it, which is pretty cool. And then I was taking a lot of notes. I was recording the audio, and then I didn't stay on top of reviewing. Honestly, I would like take the lesson, I would go play, and I would like listen to them, but I started to feel like information overload. Like I was getting more information than I was applying. And I was also having like a bad downswing then. I also had crazy high expenses in Miami. Like it was, at that point I said, I got to quit coaching. I'm going to keep doing the email program, but I'm going to stop now. So anyways, meantime, around December that same year, a couple months later, I decided to move to Jacksonville. The game's really good in Miami, but I was spending a lot of money there, and I said, I know I can leave. I had visited Jacksonville because my mom was there, aunt and uncle lived there, a lot of stuff. And
So, how does Jacksonville pertain to music and what you were doing for a living?
Oh, well, I had already stopped back in March doing music. So it was all about like poker now. I also had like a longtime girlfriend that we like for 7 years that lived with me, and we had broken up like, a couple years before, and I just kind of was a little bit like, I want like a new start, man. Like a lot of people would laugh like, why would you go to Jacksonville from Miami? Miami's such more of a cultural and exciting stuff happening, but I just kind of wanted to change. And anyway, so my mom lives there, aunt and uncle lived there, some cousins, and I had just been visiting. I didn't even know about Best Bet, and I was just talking about kind of getting tired of Miami, and my cousin was like, oh, there's a big poker room here. You should just move here, ha ha ha, and it's kind of joking, and I look into it, and I'm like, oh my god, there's like a 70-table room here. This place isn't even on Bravo. I never heard of it, and then I really liked it, and then I ended up doing just that. I moved to
yeah, I have a couple of things to say about all of this, and I'd like to chime in before
sure.
They're no longer in my short-term memory. No, it's all good. I'm guilty of rambling too, so feel free to cut me off if I do that. But one of the things is like as far as removing yourself from the Miami area and creating a new start, I think that's really good. One of my good friends, I don't know if you know him, Juan Diego,
No.
plays at the Hard Rock. Had some major success. He won the Palm Beach Kennel Club main back-to-back years.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of took that money and started playing cash and really sucked at cash for a while. But he's a super smart kid, and like he ended up figuring it out, and now he's crushing at Hard Rock and making a good living for himself. But
Cool.
like during that period, admittedly he kind of said like he went nuts. And like I was out there partying with them, going to South Beach and like ending up at Scarlett's and having fun. But like, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to go out and just make it rain. Like there are better things for me to do with my money that I enjoy much more than going to South Beach and having to have the biggest table and having to go to Scarlett's and go bonkers. And he was doing all of that along with a bunch of other stuff like buying designer clothes and just spending money on dumb stuff. And he said that like for him, he was really struggling to control himself financially. I've never had that issue because I grew up in Minnesota and everything is so low key. I'm the lowest maintenance guy in the world. I don't need anything fancy like that. So it's never been difficult for me, but for somebody like him who, You know, he's a Colombian guy. He grew up in Miami. They're all
There's a lot of
about.
pressures in Miami. You know, there's people driving brand new Mercedes and then they're bouncing like
Oh yeah, man.
$200 check and stuff.
It's
It's crazy.
superficial everything. You
Yeah.
have to drive a BMW. If you can't buy it, you got to lease it, and you have to
Mhm.
wear Gucci clothes. If you can't afford them, you got to buy knockoff Gucci.
Mhm.
You have to valet your car just so people can see your BMW.
Yeah.
You know,
That's part of the reason I kind of got a little tired of Miami. I mean, as much as I like it, you know, I got Miami in general. I got a little tired of that kind of stuff too.
Oh yeah, man, it's very
Yeah.
superficial and totally different than the way I grew up. But that was how he grew up, and that was just like a part of his culture, his lifestyle, right? And he said that the best thing he ever did was just get up and move to Pembroke Pines. So he was too far away to go party every night, but he was close enough that he could party once or twice a week. And he
Okay.
said like that was the best thing that he could possibly do. He removed himself from that crazy lifestyle. And you know, I don't think you're the kind of guy that was like going nuts and partying, but you might have been struggling
No.
with other things because of that area and because of that lifestyle.
Well,
So,
basically, yeah, and basically, I because I was teaching guitar out of my home, like I kind of justified. I lived in a like a 3-bedroom house by myself in Coral Gables, and like it was like $2 grand a month just to rent, you know, by myself. And so I but I justified it because you know I was like, well, I have my business here, so I don't have to have a business location somewhere else.
well, I
And I
mean
wanted to be in a
that's a
good area,
fair
you know?
argument provided you're actually using all of the write-ups that the IRS allows you to use. Like, were
Yes.
you writing off the square footage of your
Yes,
office
absolutely.
space and
Yeah,
you know
definitely.
all that stuff, right? Were you writing off part of your internet bill or your
Yeah,
cell
yeah.
phone bill for your
Cell
business
phone
and stuff?
costs, yeah.
You know, for me, like when I moved down to Florida to make sure that I had the highest chance of being successful because I only had like a 50K bankroll, right?
Mhm.
It's like to make sure that I maximize my chance of being successful, I minimized my overhead as much as possible. I deliberately lived in Miramar instead of living closer to the casinos so that I only had to pay $675 a month for rent, right?
That's awesome.
And I was
Yeah.
renting a spare room instead of having my own place. So I chose not to buy one of these fancy cars. I had a 100K bankroll. I was still driving a shitty Pontiac Grand Prix with 160,000 miles on it. Right.
Yeah.
I was doing everything I could to minimize my expenses, not because I'm a life nit, but because I really wanted to be successful. And part of that is making sure that your bankroll isn't bleeding
Yeah.
because you're spending stuff on unnecessary expenses. So, you know, and like part of my job is not only to like optimize people's strategies at the table. Like I know a lot of geniuses that are much smarter than me. You know, guys that went to MIT, guys that have Harvard MBAs, guys that they have their JD, and they're very intelligent, but they're financially retarded. And and they just have no chance of being successful because of the stuff they do off the table. Like to the extent that like some of these guys literally need a chaperone if they leave the poker table. You know, they're doing everything right in that little microcosm, but then as soon as they like go out into the real world, like they have no idea what to do. So part of my job is making sure that like I help my students optimize their lifestyle design because like if you really want to get up to an elite level, all of the things in your life need to be balanced.
Yeah, totally.